Hi, welcome to Too Fond of Books. I'm Janelle, and today I'm going to give you 3 books that I've read recently. I tend to read a lot of books, and so a monthly wrap-up of what I've read would be way too long. So I thought it might be fun to just do shorter videos that are just, here's some of the books that I've been reading recently. So the first one I want to talk about is Carol Smith's Kensington Court. Now this book is from the 90s. I believe it's 1996. I've never read anything by this author before. I found it in the 25-cent cart at our local used bookstore, and I thought I'd give it a try. So Kensington Court is a book set initially at Christmas time. It opens at Christmas time, and Kate Ashenberry arrives in London alone. She has come from New York. She is fleeing from a relationship, and you have to wait a long time before you find out why she had to flee that relationship. But she arrives in London and she finds a sublet in an apartment in this building in Kensington Court. And she meets a lot of the other people who live in this apartment building, and she kind of finds a new family there, and she's working, and she's meeting people, but across the way there is someone in another apartment who always seems to be watching her. So there's that. And then older women in the building start to die. So then it becomes, the mystery is who is killing off these older women. So I think I only gave this about 3 stars. I thought when I started to read it that it was going to be like at least a 4-star read, but it was just a bit too long. There are over 500 pages in this book, and I think it probably could have been easily 100 pages shorter. There was a couple things that were kind of unbelievable. Her husband, she left her husband to run away to New York with this other guy, and they never divorced, and her husband appears at the end of the book, and he's kind of been around watching over her, and how he did that, I don't want to reveal too much, but how he did that really was kind of unbelievable. But I liked the characters, and the story was interesting. I did guess who the killer was. So yeah, so I only gave it a 3, but it had potential, and if I ever see any more by this author, I would totally pick it up. So Kensington Court, Carol Smith. I've also read recently Murder in 3 Acts by Agatha Christie. I am in the middle of a Agatha Christie read through. I wanted to read her books in order of publication, kind of in a shorter period of time, like not one right after the other, but like within a year and a half, and just kind of watch her progression as a writer, also just to really enjoy the books because I love Agatha Christie. So in Murder in 3 Acts, this is from 1934, and it's a Hercule Poirot. I'm just going to read the back of this one. The cast included an egocentric actor, a cynical young journalist, and an exceedingly clever beauty who played one against the other. Standing quietly in the wing was the inimitable Hercule Poirot. The grand opening took place at a posh house party where everyone was having a wonderful time until one of the guests was found poisoned. And before the final curtain fell, the stage had been set for 2 more cold-blooded murders. So this was good. I quite enjoyed this one. It's not my favorite of the Poirots, but it was still really good, and I gave it 4 stars. So Murder in 3 Acts, Hercule Poirot, very good. And then finally, And the third book that I've read recently is Evil Games by Angela Marsons. And this is a D.I. Kim Stone book. It's the second one in the series. And these are set in the Black Country in England. And I'm not entirely sure where that is, except for the fact that they talk about being relatively close to Wales, and they also talk about Bristol. So I think it's kind of in the western maybe area in England. Anyway, that all doesn't matter. So D.I. Kim Stone, this is the second one, and a rapist is found mutilated in a brutal attack. Detective Kim Stone and her team are called in to bring a swift resolution. But Kim little imagines what she's really dealing with. Behind the man's killer sits a truly ingenious sociopath, a lethal individual undertaking their own twisted experiment into the darkest limits of manipulating the most vulnerable. As the body count rises, Kim begins to close in on the true mastermind, but for the first time she has found an equally intelligent adversary, and one who likes nothing more than an enemy worth killing. I quite enjoyed this mystery. It was very good. It was different from other mysteries in that you know who this sociopath is pretty much from the beginning, and then it just becomes a struggle between D.I. Kim Stone and this sociopath. But I found that interesting. I mean, you know, it's kind of like Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty. You know who the bad guy is, but the struggle to bring them down is interesting. So that was the case in here. It was a little bit more violent than I tend to like in my mysteries, but it wasn't horrible. And the character of D.I. Stone is really interesting. She's a very complex character. She is kind of one of those troubled loners, and sometimes that really annoys me, but she is complex enough that I find it still very interesting, because she still accepts friendship and help even though it's hard for her, and her past is complicated and sad, and you feel for her, but you definitely root for her. And so yeah, I quite enjoyed this one too. I gave it I think I gave it a 3.5. I would have probably given it a 4, except it is, you know, a little bit more kind of violent than I tend to like my mysteries. But this is a pretty good series, and I'm totally gonna keep on with it. So Evil Games, Angela Marsons. And so those are the three of the books that I've been reading recently. What have you been reading recently? I'd love to hear about it down in the comments. Let's chat. Thanks, and I'll see you again soon.